Hi guys, it's Kelly and I'm back with another video sponsored by Simon Says Stamp. Today we're going to be working with some W+9 products. This is the He Is Risen stamp set. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Kelly, Easter is over. And you would be correct. Easter is over. However, there's no reason why you cannot still use this stamp set. And I just figured there was maybe some of you who had purchased it. I never even got a chance to use it, and I love this background. I'm like, no, why would I invest in something that I can't use all the time? And I'm sure you guys have frequently said that to yourselves. So I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can make a background with this that has nothing to do with Easter. So the first way is I'm stamping on Canson watercolor paper. I'm using Barely Beige ink from Simon Says Stamp because it's a very light ink, and I'm going to be doing some watercoloring. I did end up stamping it twice just so I could really get a good image of those lines because that ink is so light. And then I'm going to, I'm all set up with my Daniel Smith watercolors. And this was the original way that I was going to make the card. I didn't originally, I guess, intend to make 3, but then after I made the first one, I was like, this was pretty time consuming. What's an easier way to do this for people? And then the other 2 cards were born. Moving right along. I'm working with a number 2 round brush from the Silver Brush Company. It's kind of important that you have a brush, whatever brush works for you, but it has a good point. Especially if you're going to do something like this, and you can do this with any background that you own. But if you're going to do it, there's kind of like some little teeny tiny nooks and crannies you got to get into, and you're going to want a brush with a good point. So basically what I'm doing is I wanted to do the wet on wet technique, which means I'm putting down clean water, and then I'm rinsing, I'm picking up the pigment, dropping that in, rinsing off my brush, moving on to the next color. You could definitely do this where you just painted in the color. Like, you wouldn't need to do both. Like, you could do wet on dry is what I'm trying to say. And then that would also work. I just kind of wanted some nice movement in my pigment, and I feel like I get better movement if I do the wet on wet technique. So I'm going to eventually speed this up. I just wanted you to be able to see a couple of them in real time so you can see that I am taking my time. I'm outlining those edges with the clean water before I fill in any of the areas. This, I guess, was a little bit time consuming. I don't know. I think maybe it took, 30 minutes to do the whole background, just doing like the blocks of color. But this particular background is a little bit more involved. If you were doing a simpler one, I'm sure it probably wouldn't take that long. But I loved this. I love flowers any time of year. I pretty much don't care. And like I said in the beginning, like, nobody wants to have something where they're like, well, I can only use that for Halloween. I can only use that for Christmas. I can only use that for Easter. I don't have anything that I own that's like, I can only use that for fill in the blank. If I have invested in it, I have paid for it, I am using it anytime I want to. And I'll just make do. I'll figure out a way to make that work for me. And then I'm going to share it with you, right? That's the point of YouTube. So here I am going to go ahead and just speed it up so you can kind of watch just, I guess, how I got to the end point. When I originally started, I was going to go teal to like a navy bluish to purple. I ended up adding a couple of more colors in, and I'm actually really happy that I did because I like the way that I guess the color around the card moves. I ended up adding in some sap green and some yellow, and then also some, Quin Rose, which I gotta tell you, every time I do a watercolor card, I don't know why I'm so drawn to that particular pink color, but I can't not put it on a card. Like, I don't even know how to watercolor without that color. But yeah, so I'm trying to think if I have a story. Do I have a story? Oh, here's a fun story. Well, it's not really a story. I guess it is more of some advice from me to you, from girlfriend to girlfriend. A lot of people tell me all the times when they listen to my videos that it sounds like we're just sitting there chatting, like, girlfriends in a craft room, which I love. I love that that's how you guys feel about the conversations that we have. So I have a girlfriend who is she's awesome, okay? and I'm in my 30s. I am married. A lot of my girlfriends either were married or never got married, and or they're divorced. It's just, that is what it is. It's very common now, especially for my age group. And so she's out in the dating world, and she was dating. She was getting ready to go on a date, and she sends me this Snapchat, and she's like, "I'm so nervous. What if he doesn't like me? I want to impress him." And in my head, I'm like, "What? What? No. He should be impressing you. You go out on this date and he ain't impressive, girl. Go, you pay that bill and go. Like, just leave." Like, it makes me so sad because she doesn't see how wonderful she is. Like, when I look at her as her friend, I see a beautiful, caring, independent woman who's accomplished just so many things and helped uplift so many people. And she's just awesome. Like, who wouldn't want a girlfriend or a wife or whatever who cared for them, who wanted to take care of them, who wanted to support them and lift them up? Like, I don't understand. And here she is thinking that, she's going to go out on this first date with this guy, and somehow she's not going to be adequate. Like, that is wild to me. 'Cause she has so much to offer somebody. And, she's like, "Well, I don't really, love the way that I look." And I think she's stunning. But she's like, with men, it's, a lot of times, they just look at what you look like. And I'm like, if that is the case, like, if you walk in there and he's like, "Yeah, I guess you're hot enough for me to date," like, flee the scene. Oh, hand to God. That is not, no. Like, you want your partner to find you attractive. You want to find your partner attractive, of course. But there are other things that are attractive besides physical attributes, which, by the way, I got to tell you, I don't know if you know, but we're all actually going to get old. If you're not getting old, you're dead. Those are your two choices. And so those things aren't always going to be around. Like, they just aren't. You will not always look the same. You are constantly changing. Like, especially now that we're older. I have another girlfriend who sent me, I think she actually put it on her Snapchat story. But it's like her in like a black mask, the clay, like, no, what is it? The charcoal masks, which by the way, I'm terrified of. I don't know if you've ever watched any of those videos where they basically like pull off their skin and cry the whole time. But if you haven't, they're hysterical because it's other people. It's not happening to you. And so go watch those. They're very funny. But anyway, she, like, the thing on there says, "I'm breaking out like a teenager." And I also currently am breaking out like a teenager. And, I sent her a message back and I was like, "Aren't we too old for this? Like, isn't that the trade-off? Like, as you get older, you might get some wrinkles, but you get less acne." It's a lie. It's a total lie. I still have acne just like I did, I guess, probably the same-ish amount that I did when I was a teenager. So I don't know what's up with that. But anyway, so that's just my 2 cents. If you are in a relationship, you are looking to get back into dating, you're looking for your one, don't settle. Do not sell yourself short. Don't go in there like, be humble. Don't go be crazy, because they have worth too. But you should be partners. It should be equal footing. It should not be, "Oh, I'm so blessed that this super hot guy or this guy who makes $200,000 a year wants to be with me." Nope. Not important. You know what you need to find? Somebody with adaptability. That's important because life is always going to throw you curveballs. And if you don't have somebody who's going to be in them trenches with you, willing to do what they need to do to make it work, and be adaptable to your situation, that's the best attribute that you can have in a partner. But anywho, so at this point of the watercoloring, I realized watercolors always dry back. They always dry lighter, but these were really, really light. They were just so light. And so I went back and I am darkening them up. Again, you know, you've heard me say this before. You're not married to any of this, guys. If you don't like something, change it. So once the back, like the big blocks were filled in, this is where I guess it got a little bit more time consuming. I don't mind this. This was fun for me, but I can see how it would be maybe tedious for other people. So this is another reason why you need to have a brush with a really good point on it. I'm going in and I am outlining. All these lines are already here, guys. I'm not making them up. I'm not like, oh, I'm going to play Illustrator and paint me some lilies. No, but I want it to look like I did. I want to take credit for the artist's beautiful image, right? So basically what I'm just doing is I'm picking up a little bit of pigment, I'm going in and I'm following those same lines. You're going to see me turn my paper a lot because I am right-handed. So when I do a line, it is best for me to kind of start at the top, work my way down, or start from my left and work to the right. If I have to start at the right and work my way to the left, my lines get much thicker. I just don't have good control that way. So find whichever direction is going to work for you and then do that consistently. That's, I think that will get you the best result. I didn't keep loading up my brush with paint. I kind of let some of them be soft and some of them be dark. I will tell you that sometimes I didn't have enough water on my paintbrush because I was nervous about getting really thick lines. Because it's a fine, the flowers in here are drawn to be fine lines. So I'm going to kind of hop around here so you don't have to watch the whole thing, by the way. I'm switching to each color as I move. So I did that flower in teal, and now I'm going to move to the green because that's the area that it's in. And I want it to look cohesive throughout the whole thing. But one of the things that I did notice is if I picked up a little bit too much paint and it was too thick, the lines were not smooth. So when that happened to me, I would go pick up a little bit more water and kind of drop or rub the edge of the paintbrush up against the well of that color, just to get it so that there wasn't too much water on there. And then I would start outlining after that. If I started and there was too much paint on there and I needed to smooth it out, I would just rinse off my brush and then go back in with just a damp, or what they call a thirsty brush, which is just barely has water on it. And then I would go over that line to just smooth it out. And I did this all the way up the card. And I think we're going to finish with the Quinn Rose, which is the pink. I really love the way it came out. I feel like it has a very painterly look. Super, super cool and just kind of very different, which I loved. So after I did that one, I was like, this was time consuming. How can I tell people how to do this in a much faster fashion? Here's how you can do it in a much faster fashion. I picked out a couple of Simon Says Stamp inks. This one, the first time, so I have repositional adhesive on the back of my card, except it didn't really adhere for some reason. I don't know why. So I am messing around with this thing. I'm basically sliding my fingernail in between the paper and the stamp, so that because I don't want it to move, I can't put magnets on it. The stamp covers my entire paper. So once I put it back down, then I'm going to put the stamp back in place. The reason it cuts off is because my big fat head is right on top of the stamp, so I can make sure that it's lined up. I did get it lined up. It was not a problem. And then I'm going to, so that was Sunshine. I'm going to move on to Green Apple. Each time I'm inking this up, I am using a slightly damp baby wipe to kind of blot the edges of it so that I get a smooth transition. Sometimes with lighter colors, here, like with the Green Apple into the Sunshine, I didn't get a great transition. I'm just going to go back in and do the Sunshine again so that there's 2 layers of it, and it's like the more ink on the paper, the better that they mix. So from the Green Apple, I'm going to teal. One of the things that I did notice myself doing is that because I only wanted it in a certain area, I was using like just the corner of the ink pad, or I wasn't pushing down very hard, and that was not giving me great coverage. Here I did the teal. I didn't like the way it blended into the green apple, so I'm going to go back in and do the green apple again. I only really noticed this issue with the lighter colors. I didn't notice it with the darkers. I didn't have to stamp those again. So, and I almost forgot to blot it off, which would have been bad because then I would have had really hard, like, square edges. But anyway, I wasn't really putting down enough pressure because I was so just occupied with making sure that I kept a good line as far as like where the color was. So just that's something to be aware of. You might have to stamp it once or twice just because you're hesitant to put down a ton of ink until you really know where that's going to go. So I used the blue violet. I kept the same color pattern, obviously, you can see that. I used the blue violet and then deep purple, and then my pink is going to be, what I used? Watermelon. I know it was a toss-up between watermelon and hot lips. I think I went with watermelon. But as always, all of my, if you're watching on YouTube, it's linked below in the description, all of the products that I use. And if you're watching on my blog, they're linked there as well. So then I wanted to do something a little bit different. And you'll see my stamp is clean, by the way. It is stained. Good photopolymer stamps will stain. They will. Some people that bothers, that, you know, they have really good stamp cleaners out there. It doesn't bother me at all. Not in the slightest. As long as the thing still stamps A-okay, I'm solid. So here I thought I would do something a little bit different, maybe a little bit brighter. Now you could probably do this on black. I chose to do it on Nina Desert Storm 80-pound cardstock. Oh, the other one was Nina, the white one. Why can't I think of what it's called? It's something white, whatever. It's linked. But this one, I thought, because Distress Oxides do have that pigment property, so they're a little bit opaque, you can stamp on darker cardstock with them. And so I thought it would be fun just to have kind of a different look to do it this way. So I use Squeeze Lemonade, Twisted Citron. This is Peacock Feathers. I'm doing the same thing I did before, where I'm inking it up, and then I'm using that damp baby wipe to kind of blot around the edges. The only thing I did a little bit different here is instead of using like a navy or a blue violet, I used Salty Ocean just because I like that color and I like the way that it looks with Peacock Feathers and Wilted Violet. And so I just, again, you know, just did the same thing all over again. If I had to do this particular card over again, I think maybe I would have used Fossilized Amber because I think that yellow in the corner is very difficult to see. The darker color stamped amazing. I mean, it looks so super cool. But that yellow was just a little bit too light, I think. So that is all of the background stamping. I am not going to show you the building of the cards. I'm just going to show you the final result. So here for this one, I used Kind Soul. The sentiment is from Kind Soul. I heat embossed that on some black Simon Says Stamp cardstock. I put some white string behind it and a couple of little clear sequins. For this one, I used, these are all, like I said, W+9 products. I used the Smile die from the, I think it's Flower Doodles. And I built that up on a couple of layers of cardstock so that it would be a sturdy die cut. And then for this last one, I used the No One Else, No One Like You. Can't remember the name of it. And that is the thank you die is, there's a stamp set that matches as well, which I really love. And then all of them have the clear sequins on them. So they all have kind of a different look, but I really like the way each one came out. And I hope that gives you some ideas for some backgrounds that you have. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.